Hello, my name is Voya and welcome to My Deep Guide, and in today's video I'm really happy to present to you the My Deep Guide 2024 is now done, finished and released. So what is MDO for those who don't know? Well, MDO stands for My Daily Organizer, and this is a specially designed and carefully created hyperlinked PDF file that serves as your all-year, calendar year-round organizer tool for your yearly, quarterly, monthly, weekly, daily needs. All of it is interconnected. It's a very complex document at 1,789 pages and over 11,000 hyperlinks in it, but all condensed down into a teeny tiny little file that can be run very quickly on any device that supports a PDF with hyperlinks and ability to annotate. So let's dive in and check out in detail what can you expect to see in MDO 2024. And here it is, my daily organizer for the year 2024. I'm very excited to actually bring you this one, and yeah, as I mentioned in the announcement video for it, it has been completely changed from the ground up, but it does retain the original kind of look, so don't worry, everything looks exactly the same as what you're used to. It has a couple of little improvements. It's just that it needed to be kind of rebuilt from scratch using different techniques for optimization purposes, of which I will mention a couple of things. You will see that it's kind of big. And the biggest thing of all is that it is now utilizing a centralized user interface, which means that I've managed to find a layout interface that I've used on my meeting planner as well, that actually is a one glove fits all. And what that means is that if you are on a Remarkable and you like to use the toolbar as a visible one, the layout accommodates both the right hand and the left hand user interface, so you no longer actually have to choose which version are you using, left-handed or right-handed, so you can actually combine that in any way. What makes that possible is the addition that finally the Remarkable has the option of using a custom fit view, which is basically persistent throughout the whole document. So if you wanted to recreate the old kind of view of My Deep Guide, you can by simply kind of fitting it to this kind of view, and then you can see that you can also accommodate it to the side, and you maximize the utilization of the screen if that small change is something that you want. So you can still do that, and you just simply create a custom view as I've shown it here, so that you can have it accommodate for the right hand side or for the left hand side. And if you don't want, you can just fit to width, and that one will fit all of the sizes. What about the changes to the actual organizer itself? Well, first of all, it's now optimized in such a way that the organizer itself, the document, is under 4 megabytes in size. So we went from version 22, which was around 15-16 megabytes, down to under 4 megabytes, and that's a big thing, because yeah, it saves you space and it increases the performance of how the device is able to handle such a document. The next thing is the general improvement of the clarity overall, and the accent was on the precision. So the entire organizer is now pixel perfect, which means that there is not going to be any kind of smudging or anti-aliasing or interpretation that the device needs to use if you use it at a native zooming level. If you actually start changing the zoom level, then you naturally break the pixel perfect thing, but the starting point and the native resolution and native view is on a pixel perfect level throughout the entire document, which enhances the precision, clarity and the contrast that you perceive while using the MDO 2024. Other than that, most of the stuff is retained, but the big thing that has been added is that now when you're in yearly calendar 2024, and if you just flip to the next page, you will see that you now have the overview of the entire 2025 year. Now this one is not interactive, so this is simply a yearly calendar from which for year 2025, if that's something that you want to plan for, and from which you can go to My Notes, My Lists, or back to 2024. The quarter views remain the same, so the only thing is that the contrasts have been kind of enhanced so that they favor the devices that do not have contrast adjustments, like the Remarkable, for example, doesn't have, but you have the access to it, normal access to days and months from the quarterly views. From the monthly view, you can actually just go to each of the days if you want, and you can go back to the monthly view, back to the day, back to the monthly view, and you also have the weekly views here from which you can actually check all of these things. The weekly planner and organizer remains largely the same, with one new addition, and that is the access to the quarters. So now you can go to the quarter that is associated to that week by following that link from the week directly. And just a quick introduction for those who are not familiar with My Daily Organizer. So from the year calendar, you can actually tap on any of the days and go to any of the days in the year, or you can tap on any of the months and go to the monthly organizer of any of the months within the year. You also have the ability to go to quarters, and from the quarters you also have the access to months and all of the days of the year, or within each quarter, within each month. Next to each of the days you have a line where you can enter your notes that you may have for such purpose. So these are just quick reminders and quick little things that you need to kind of associate with certain days, and usually this is used for a period of days. So what I would do would probably kind of mark it like this and then fill it out like here, so that I know how the sections of my month have been planned out and scheduled out, so that I have like at a glance a big overview of these things. So I might work like for these 3 weeks, I might be working on a certain task, right? So like this, and then that can actually indicate this section totally booked. Then I have maybe a section here that's also booked, but then I can at a glance see, okay, this is the days that I have at my disposal, and it's like, okay, so what's my availability? Well, I could actually squeeze in something on a 26th of February. So that's the idea behind the quarterly organization and how those things can be used. As far as the monthly overview goes, it's largely the same as before. And again, for the new users, just a little bit of a description here. So you have access to go back to the year, back to the quarter, what that is associated to this month. You can go to My Lists and My Notes. You can go to each of the days within the month and each of the weeks within the month. And also, of course, you have Sunday and Monday dedicated versions. So if you like the Sunday start, you can choose the Sunday start version, and the calendar will reflect that, the weeks will reflect that, and everything will reflect that. If you like the Monday version, choose that one, and you will have the Monday start version of the calendar. On the bottom of it, you have 2 notes columns, and the idea behind this one is that you can simply pinch to zoom to any of these columns, and let's say we zoom a little bit less so that it's kind of normal. And what I tend to do is, of course, you can use them any way that you want, but my preferred way of using this is to actually kind of mark down what are my goals for that month, and then I can have what has been achieved from those goals. And that way, when I actually start the month and I start the whole planning, oh, you gotta love how Remarkable zooms out. And that way, when I actually start planning things out, I can actually mark out what's going to happen on each of the days, just like a little kind of most important points like meetings and things like that, or even notes to different lists or things that I might have related to a certain day. But as far as these columns go, I will normally fill out the goals associated with projects or with the timeline that I have, and then see what has been achieved at the end of the month. And this gives me a point of reflection so that I can understand, am I over budgeting? Am I under budgeting? What am I actually doing as far as planning regarding my tasks and my own obligations? And of course, this is very, very useful for professional use, but even for personal use, it is also a useful one because it gives you a monthly accountability so that you know what is the reality of your plans, what have you managed to achieve and what have you not. And then it's, yeah, as I said, a useful point of reflection on a monthly basis. From here on, you can actually go to a week, and in the week you can see that we have it organized into 8 different groups, and you have your 7 weekly days vertically. So it starts, again, depending if you have a Sunday start, it will start with a Sunday. If you have a Monday start, it will start with the Monday. So in this case, it's a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then in the end, you also have a couple of lines that are dedicated for your weekly goals. So you can always just simply focus on one of the days here, and you also have a little bit of room here for a title, right? Because it depends what you're actually doing it, but you have usually, I don't know, sometimes I have like the most important things, and then I will actually mark them in the title here so that they're like an extra important emphasis on the thing not to forget that day, and then other stuff will be filled in these lines as far as the most important elements of that week actually, of the day in the week are associated. So I use the weekly planner a lot, really, really, really a lot. And basically that's where I'm most of the time, because it does give me a really, really good overview over the things that I am going through. From a weekly view, you can also go back to the month, you can go back to the year, you can go back to the quarter, you can access your My Notes and My Lists, and you also have the access to the weekly notes, which means that for each of the weeks in the year, you have a dedicated weekly notes page, which is just a simple lined page that allows you to add more lines for whatever purpose that you might need. It's just an extra piece of paper or a sheet of paper for you to write down your notes, and it's just associated to that week. And you can see which week it is, you can go back to the years, you can go back to your week planner, and you can also jump back to the month planner directly from the weekly notes. And of course, throughout the entirety of the document, you have the access to My Notes and My Lists. For the months, for the weeks, and for the days, you will see that you have these arrows to the side. And these arrows actually allow you to easily jump to the next month, week, or the day that you are in. So you don't actually have to look for the pages because the navigation is fully embedded in the entire document. So the only thing that you need to flip a page for is the year 2025 calendar from the first year. Everything else is accessible via these hyperlinks. So your use case would be like this if you want to snap back to a different month in the organizer. The same thing applies for the weeks as well. As you can see, they're just here, so you can just go back to week 11, week 10, and go this way. Of course, you will have sometimes weeks that span between 2 months, and then you will see month March and April. And in this case, that's week 14. If I tap on March, I will go to March. But if I go back to now week 14, there we go. And if I tap on April, then you will be able to go to the correct month as well. So that functionality is included as well in MDO. And at the heart of it all is actually your daily planner, which is probably the place where you will spend most of your time, because that's your, that's where you do most of your planning, and that is the majority of the planner itself. The daily planner retains the same type of user interface and organization as before. The only change is, of course, the clarity, overall pixel perfect clarity that I've talked about. But the only other change is that you now have a room from 5 a.m. or p.m. down to 11 p.m. or a.m. Some users say that they are confused by what is the AM/PM system. Well, the AM/PM system is something that helps incorporate as many people as possible who work in many different kinds of shifts. So, for example, if you are a nurse or a medical worker who is working throughout the night, then your work hours, the 7 to 3 or 9 to 5, they don't apply, because you have a completely different shift. So that was the idea between this. And for example, if you are on a regular 7 a.m. till, let's say, 3-4 p.m., well, all you need to do is simply cross out the one that doesn't apply to you, and that's it. And now you have your 7 to 3 a.m. to p.m. So similarly, if you don't want that, and if you are working, for example, from 8 p.m. all the way up until, let's say, 6 a.m. or something like that. So let's say that then you cross out the one that doesn't apply to you. And basically you just do this when you start planning, and then you have your regular plan, and the organizer will show and reflect exactly what is going on. So it will say 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m., all the way to 12 a.m., all the way to, well, in this case, 5 a.m. So that's the idea between the AM/PM organization. So it's really quite easy and quite a flexible solution, and a lot of users who actually fall into that category are grateful for actually having this. So this is why it stays. Yes, I know there are some people who say like, oh, I just want that one. Well, I totally appreciate that, but the honest truth is that the majority prefers this, so this is why it stays. You also have your to-do lists, and the intended use is, of course, to zoom in and then fill it out so that it fills your screen. And that's how it's been actually sized. As you can see, we can actually zoom it and it fills in the whole screen so that you can comfortably place that and fill it in. And the same thing goes for the notes, because it has also been sized in such a way that when you actually zoom in to a normal kind of to fit the width or fit the height, it all fits. It's not actually cut out on any sides of the screens, so that you can actually just zoom into it, fill it in, and then continue, zoom out, and then continue using it. In the top bar, you will have the already now mentioned navigations, so you can flip to the next day or the previous day of the year. You also have access to go back to the month, you can go back to the week, you can go back to the weekly notes directly there, back to year, of course my notes and my lists. And the special thing for the daily organizer or daily planner is that you have access to daily notes. And the daily notes are the same thing like weekly notes, except in this case you have 2 pages, daily notes 1 and daily notes 2. Okay, so that's where you also need to swipe to get access to daily notes 2 as well. So you get 2 lined pages for each day of the year for you to scribble down your notes that you may need. If you need more, you also have access to your notes. In the daily notes themselves, you also have access to go back to the daily planner, or you can also go directly to the daily diary, and from the daily diary you can go back also to the daily notes or to the daily planner. So it's all interconnected. You can jump from one to another without any need to flip pages or anything. It's all hyperlinked and you have all of the buttons there. The daily diary remains the same, and it has the same type of purpose as before, which is again a point of self-reflection. So it has 3 fields here: my goals, and you're supposed to list what are your goals for that day at the morning. So you list your goals, whatever the daily goals are, or you can have long-term goals, you can have short-term goals, it doesn't matter, as long as you are consistent with it. This is something that will provide you a point of self-reflection. And it's intended to be used exactly the same as what I mentioned for the monthly, weekly notes or things like that. They're designed that you can actually zoom in, fill them in comfortably, and then zoom back out to 100%, and if Remarkable would actually make that to be easier. I mean, they continue saying this, but they just ruined the overall experience, as you can clearly see. There we go, yay! The next field, you have 3 things that I'm grateful for. And they're just general 3 things that you're grateful for. Just a reminder, again, a point of self-reflection. And then at the end of the day, you can just write down the best thing that happened to you today. Big, small, doesn't matter, just something that shows appreciation to the things around you. And of course, you have the room for your daily log. As if all of that was not enough, then you have the My Notes, and this has been revamped a little bit as well. So the first obvious thing is that no longer you have 99, you have 102 notes, dedicated notes for your use. You can use them however you want. And the second part was that now the numbers of each notes, because you have note 01 to 102, and if you tap on the number itself, you go to the note that you want. So for example, 49, I go to note 49. If I want to go back to the notes overview, you simply tap on My Notes. The difference here is that now each of the numbers of the notes has been encased in a hyperlinked box, which indicates where the hyperlink is by this gray box, so that you don't have to kind of think, hey, should I tap on this or on this? No, you tap on the gray part. So the button itself, you just tap on it and it will take you there. And also you have a line space here next to each of the notes where you can write the title of your note. And the really useful thing about using the numbers here is that you can actually just go through and have a note that's filled in here, and then you know, oh, that's my note 04. And you can associate that note to something else in your monthly or weekly or daily planner. So for example, if I wanted to reference something for I don't know, Monday, I can actually just zoom in, and then I can just simply say reference note 05, right? And that's a good reminder. And of course, because you have the access to My Notes, then you can say, oh, reference note 5. Okay, so then I go to My Notes and then I go to note 05, and that's that. Another little trick that you can actually use is that if you don't want to have a note 5 saying up here, then you can actually choose a brush with the white color, right? And then you can paint over it, effectively hiding the title like this. And once it's fully like that, then you can go back to your regular pen and add your title, right? So that's a little tip that you can use on anything throughout the whole document, but it's particularly useful for notes, and the same thing applies for the lists themselves. So it's the exact same list overview. The only difference is that these buttons take you to numbered lists, and each of the lists has these 6 groups of categories of lists, each of which you can actually title if you want it as a separate kind of title with a task list, or not if that's what you need or don't need. When you purchase the MDO 2024, you will get a package that you need to unzip. The package itself contains this time only 6 files, and that was the whole point of this unification. So it's much simpler for the user to just simply choose the version they want, transfer it onto the device, and off you go. And as you can see, because it is a unified type of a user interface that applies to any device, you no longer have to choose the directory, which device, which version am I using, which version is best for my device, if it's this one or if it's that one. No, the only thing that you need to choose is what is your preferred calendar weekly start, Sunday or Monday start, and then you choose out of these 3 cover styles which one you prefer, because there's no difference between them. They're all identical files. You simply choose visually which one you prefer. And MDO 2024, like previous versions, works on all of the devices that support PDFs with hyperlinks. So here it is, for example, shown on the SuperNote A6X and the A5X. This is the same exact format, and as you can see, it can accommodate the toolbar to be on the side, on the top, on the bottom, on the other side. It doesn't matter, you don't really have to do anything about that, and everything functions as you would expect it to. So the same way that I've actually shown how it actually functions, the same way it works on any device that supports a PDF file with hyperlinks. Now, it may be tempting and it may be really useful for some people to actually use the MDO on the SuperNote platform as a notebook template. And while that is certainly possible and that's something that you can do, you need to keep in mind one thing, which is a really important thing. And that is that on the SuperNote, we don't yet have a zooming tool to actually zoom a region or pinch to zoom, and that's something that's hopefully coming soon, but at the moment we don't have that yet. So that can be definitely an issue and something that you need to take in mind, especially because all of this stuff has been made with zooming in mind. So the way that I prefer to actually use MDO on a SuperNote is by using it as a document and utilizing the really powerful half-page view. This is especially useful on the A6X because then it actually gives you the same kind of overview, really large overview of the page, and the only thing that you need to do is basically simply swipe back and forth to actually see where in the page you are, and that actually gives you quite a nice way of looking at things. And of course you can do the same thing on the A4X as well, or A5X, my apologies, and that gives you a very nice large overview over the document, and then you can just fill things in any way that you want. If you really want to use MDO as a template in a notebook, then what you can do, because you don't have a zoom, is then you have enough lines and then you can write in doubles. That is until we get the proper zooming functionality in the notebooks on the SuperNote platform as well. As far as Boox devices go, the same thing applies. It just works on any Boox device that is capable of handwriting there. So if you have stylus support, then you can clearly use MDO because all of the Boox devices support PDFs with hyperlinks. So technically speaking, you can open it up in an e-reader as well, but you won't be able to write in it. The layout works perfectly fine with the Boox devices. As you can see, you can navigate in a good way. And if you have your pinch to zoom enabled, you can easily use the same type of functionality like here, and then you can use it like that. Pretty much the same way that I've shown in the Remarkable as well. It's just that you don't have that stupid zooming out past the 100%. You can simply pinch out and zoom back to a normal thing, which is quite nice. So overall, this really functions well on all of the Boox devices. However, there is an active issue with the latest update that I have recognized and identified on Boox, and it is something that you will experience when using the latest updates on pretty much any of the Boox devices, and that is best defined if I turn off the touch and a pinch to zoom, and I go back to using and I disable handwriting, so I can use the stylus as my input, right? In a yearly overview, if I tap, for example, on February 29th, I go to February 29th, I go to here, everything seems to be working fine. However, I noticed one thing that started happening, which was, for example, if I tap on the 14th, in a specific way, I will get to the February 14th. But if I tap it on a specific way as well, then I might get neighboring days, such as 7th of February, 13th of February. Even though I'm tapping on the box itself, I can still get wrong days. And this is an issue that I will be addressing in a separate video. I don't want to kind of pollute this whole thing, but I just want you to be aware of it, and I will add the video in question in the description, video description, and maybe even a card somewhere around here. But it is an important video to check if you are using a Boox device and you are using MDO. It's a very, very important video to check out. Bottom line is, in the last update, Boox has introduced padding around link boxes, therefore ruining the precision. It took a while to actually explore this and actually prove it, but that's exactly what I did in that video, so you can check it out how that is, so you can understand what the problem is, because I think that it helps if you understand what the issue is. It can help you understand and visualize what's what, so that you can navigate around that issue until they fix it. MDO, of course, works on the 13.3-inch format. It will work on any format. So, of course, if you have Tab X or any of the Max devices, you are actually going to be able to enjoy the extra real estate for taking notes and just really, really enjoying and taking the maximum out of your device. And as indicated before, here we are on Quaderno A4, and again 13.3-inch device, and everything works as expected, right? And you can navigate as you normally would, and of course enjoy the extra real estate, the super close writing to the surface, and the super nice writing feedback of the Quaderno platforms. Technically speaking, you can use MDO on the Kindle Scribe as well if the service that allows you to transfer files onto your Kindle is operational at a time when you purchase the MDO and you want to use it. Because at the time of finalizing MDO and actually creating this video, the Kindle 2 device, send file to Kindle service, is completely broken. It works on tiny little files, but as soon as you have a larger file and it comes down to the page number, because I did a ton of testing, like I did with the Boox, I had to do a lot of testing and basically beta testing and troubleshooting their issue in order to define, is it something that I can do on my end to make sure that the users can transfer the file onto their device or not. And unfortunately, as at the time of making this video, the send to Kindle service is completely broken down for anything larger or any file that approaches 1,000 pages or more. That is again addressed in the video, in the same video that's going to be linked in the description below, and maybe a card around here somewhere that addresses the issue with the Boox. I'm addressing that issue here in that video as well, and I'm going to explain there as well what is going on and what's happening. But the point is that if you do transfer, if the service allows you to actually transfer the MDO to your Kindle device, then it works really, really well. It's blisteringly fast and it's super, super nice to use, and you actually really have that awesome writing and excellent image quality. Everything is excellent, but their service is completely unreliable, and basically because it's so closed in, if their service breaks down, as it is currently broken down, there's nothing you or I can actually do. And that's one of the things that I really, really dislike about the Amazon Kindle Scribe. Even though it's an amazing device, super. I mean, look how beautiful this actually looks, and that pixel perfect effort. It's so nice to actually see it all kind of reflected here. But yeah, what good is it if their service is so unreliable that you don't know if you're going to be able to transfer the file or not? I hope that if enough users actually kind of bring that point to their attention, that they are going to address it and fix it sooner rather than later. Because that issue doesn't affect only MDO, it affects any PDF file that is of around 1,000 pages or more. Yeah, you're just kind of like, hey, let's see if the gods of send to Kindle will be kind this time or not. And as I already said, MDO is a hyperlinked PDF file, so any device that natively supports handwriting and it supports PDFs with hyperlinks, it will work. Yeah, MDO will work on that. So here we are on Kobo Ellipsa 2e, for example, and as you can see, the performance is nice and the tracking is nice and precise, and even in the small ones, it's very, very nice and responsive and precise, and even the writing, yeah, works fine, up to a degree how a device is actually able to allow you to write. And because of that fact, because MDO is a hyperlinked PDF file, it will work on your Android tablets, it will work on your iPad, it will work on a BigMe tablet if you have one, it will work on a MobiScribe Wave, it will work on MobiScribe Origin if it's not out of battery, and it will work also on MatePad Paper, Huawei, Notea, and a ton of other devices. So yeah, your only prerequisite is PDF files, hyperlinks, handwriting, and then it will work. And unfortunately, no, that doesn't mean that it's going to work on Lenovo Paper, because as of the time of making this video, yeah, Lenovo Paper Pad or whatever it's called, that one has not received an update that makes it possible to actually use hyperlinks in PDF files, bizarrely. But once that platform actually receives that functionality, and once Lenovo also supports hyperlinks in PDF files, then you will be able to use MDO 2024 on it as well. All right, so that is the MDO 2024. It's available now on mydeepguide.com/shop, where you can find both the MDO 2024 as a standalone product, or a bundle that bundles 2024 and 2023 versions of MDO at a discounted price. The regular price for MDO is $19.99 US, but if you are an existing customer, you should have already received a email that gives you the discount code for the customer loyalty discount code that grants you a 30% discount on MDO 2024 when purchasing it. From today, from the moment of the release of MDO 2024, MDO 2023 is also discounted further down. So yeah, you can actually pick those things up. And I also invite you to check out the MMP, My Deep Guide Meeting Planner as well. If you haven't picked it up yet, it's also a hyperlinked PDF file that's carefully designed to simplify, organize, centralize your meeting planner needs. To all of the existing customers, I thank you from the bottom of my heart, because you make the hard work that goes into creating one of these and testing it and troubleshooting the devices and things like that. You make it all worthwhile, and your input is really, really valuable. I also really value the feedback that I get from people who are using this now for several years in all branches of so many different industries, which is a very, very lovely thing to see, that the audience, and that's something that I made, like something that I made for myself initially and then offered to everybody, is getting such a good feedback. And most importantly is that it helps you organize and simplify your life. So that makes me very, very happy. I hope that you enjoy MDO 2024, and thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for the support. See you in the next video. Bye.